Welcome to Diving In Consciously. I'm your host, Erica Van Eaton. This is the podcast where we begin to heal your inner and outer world through creative play, imagination, transmissions, science, metaphysics, and so much more. So let's get ready to play. Hi, my name is Erica Van Eaton. I am your host of the podcast Diving In Consciously, and today we're going to talk all about body consciousness. We're going to go into detail about what the body consciousness is exactly, how it gets programmed through ancestral energies and frequencies and past life frequencies. So we'll get into a little bit of woo-woo, intermix that with science, and we're going to play. And then towards the end of the podcast, like every other episode, we will dive into a process to help you release or free up your body consciousness from past experiences. When my middle son was around 2-3 years old, he started having these pretty vivid, horrific nightmares. He would wake up describing killing someone or being killed in a warlike setting. And it wasn't as though any of that kind of information was on TV. He wasn't playing video games at the time. Nowhere in his environment was he being shown these kind of images. It wasn't as though his dad or I were having these kind of nightmares and really hadn't taken the steps into energetic healing at the time. So I didn't understand how these things got passed through to his system, or I didn't understand what he was tuning into to have these kind of nightmares. But then around the age of 3.5 is pretty much when I started to dive into the world of quantum physics and starting to look at entanglements and all the fun things that we talked about in the last episode. What I began to look at was the body itself is a consciousness, has a consciousness. The body is a macroorganism. 95% of your DNA is comprised of microbacteria, parasites, viruses. These all come together to produce an organ, to produce your endocrine system. They are all working and sharing information all the time. And remember that these microorganisms are also made of energy. So they're made of trillions of atoms of energy, just like we are. Energy is moving, right? There's a vibrational tone to it. Anytime as you're growing and you experience any kind of trauma, have heavy emotion, that emotion affects how these microorganisms vibrate. It affects their ability to express. When the heart stops beating, and the physical body, quote unquote, dies, when the heart stops beating and spirit leaves the body, and the physicality is buried in the earth, and it starts to disintegrate, all the wisdom that body gained in that lifetime, all the memory from the trauma, from the good, from the bad, all of that is still stored and vibrating in the atoms of energy that are now becoming, once again, part of the earth. The other thing that forever alters the microorganisms and the microbacteria is your source energy codes. As your body is developing and your spirit starts to descend down into the body, you have unique frequencies to you that were derived from Source, from this overriding one source energy of which all life came. You are a unique aspect vibrating from that source that is now instilled into the microorganisms that you came into contact with. And that's the entanglement theory in quantum physics. When you die, all this information, all this wisdom that you have, all this memory is now becoming part of the earth again. And it's stored there until you decide to come back and reincarnate. I didn't understand reincarnation. Kind of thought it was a real thing, but I didn't really look at it in the wholeness until I really started researching energetics and understanding that energy can't be destroyed. That would mean that the energy that we are is eternal. So, of course, we're not just going to live out, what's the average age? 80 years here and then never come back for all of eternity. I feel like we would get a little bored. So each time we come back, we still have our core source energy codes. And due to harmonic resonance, meaning likes attract like, when your spirit starts to descend back down into the body, the molecules, the microbacteria, the parasites, viruses, everything that's holding your information, your original codes of light, your memory, now become to be vibrationally attracted back to your body. Now, I know like the mind wants to go to, well, it's really just soil again. It's not like the mom is scooping that soil up with her hand and then smearing it all over the baby body and it's becoming part of the body again. We have to think in terms of energy. Remember these microbacteria, these parasites, these viruses, the soil of the earth is energy, right? It's 99% space. It's comprised of trillions, billions of atoms, photons, electrons, all the things. And that information that you have been before is now stored in the earth. So when you start to descend down into the body, that information starts to come back to your developing body. So if in the past life you died in a war zone, that memory is still with you. Now, there has been a lot of documentation of kids remembering super specific things about past lives and being able to tell every detail that there's no way that they would be able to know. When they go and research the information that they're telling them, it's spot on. So we know through documentation that this is a pretty real thing, but I'm explaining the back end of it. So one other thing that my son had, besides having these nightmares, if you looked at his skin with his shirt off, it looked like he had a knife straight up the center of his chest, and then his skin was ripped off over the part of his shoulder. It was discolored, jagged lines just on one side of his body. And even when he would tan in the summer, that patch of skin wouldn't tan the same as the rest of the skin. As he has become older, it has dissipated, but very much looked like he had been in a war and attacked and died. So the physicality of you also remembers. A lot of people that have been slaves in past lives will have markings on around their ankles, or even birthmarks around their wrists or wherever they were chained, as a remembering of what occurred in past lives, because that memory comes back to your tissues and it's stored in you. Now, this works the same with ancestral lines. So even if you never met your great, 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 great grandma Martha, but she was in a time of famine or dealt with extreme poverty because of the circumstances that she was in, that trauma was locked in her tissues. And when she had a baby, that energy, that wisdom, that frequency of all that trauma went into the baby body, which then got transferred to the next baby, to the next baby, to the next generation, to the next generation, and so on and so forth. Maybe you overeat and you have a problem with your weight and you're like, I don't get it. No one else in my family has this problem. I don't know why I can't control this. But maybe you have stored memory and it just came into your body a little louder than the other people back from the day when your grandma was starving to death. This kind of information is everywhere in our tissues, and it's very inclusive of our ancestral and past lives. So one way that we can begin to release and clear these traumas is through coming back to the breath, of course. And so we can begin to play with it now. Starting to come back home to the breath. Call forward your body consciousness. Ask for the consciousness of your body to come forward. And the body consciousness is usually really quiet when compared to the ego or to the mind. But invite the body consciousness into the heart space. And as you invite him, her back into the heart space and breathe, any kind of patterning, anything that you struggle with and you don't know why, you can't find the source of it, Just become aware of that struggle, but you're breathing deeply. Your shoulders are down, your chin is up, your chest is open, keeping the body calm, giving yourself space. Now, what we want to show your body consciousness is that the only thing that's true for it is your soul, your source energy codes. And so we're going to ask for your soul now to come give your body consciousness a big hug, because your body consciousness is part of your soul. So allow for your soul to wrap its arms around your body consciousness. This is where we got to play pretend. And then feel your heart open, expand, and relax. Now, what we're going to show your body consciousness is this other pattern that you struggle with. And as it looks at this pattern, tell your body consciousness this isn't the truth of who you are in this lifetime. Tell your body consciousness this is something that you picked up, that you inherited through frequency. But it's not the truth of who you are in this lifetime. So then we can begin to ask your guardian angels, the I am of Archangel Michael, I am power, to begin to dislodge that frequency from every ounce, every molecule of energy that you are in this lifetime, bringing your awareness always back to the heart. Energy flows where attention goes. So if I am filling into my heart, then I am directing all my energy to come back home to begin to release the memories in the field, beginning to release my ancestors' pains and traumas. And I'm saying that I'm not responsible to harbor my ancestral's pain. I'm not responsible to harbor anyone else's trauma. What I am is soul. I am soul. I am. I am divine. I am divine. I am. And feel all this residue leaving your body. Feel all your energy coming back home, being embraced, being accepted by the soul that you are. Taking another deep breath in, honoring all that you are. Putting a hand on your heart. Thanking yourself for loving yourself so fully and gifting yourself the space and time to release what isn't serving, coming back home to unravel the source energy that you are. Starting in October, I have a 21-day meditation retreat coming up where I guide meditations every morning at 5 a.m. Central Time, but recordings go out directly after. I have people that I'm of service to all over the world, and everyone's in different time zones. So every morning you will be getting a meditation emailed out, but the whole concept of it, and I've done this before, and people love it because we are changing your chemical state. We are changing your physiology to something that is more inclusive and expansive of your soul light by unraveling the stories and the addictions to suffering and pain and limitation and lack, so that you can become a greater expression of Source through you. So it's all about play. It's all about expansion. Every day builds on the next. It's something that people listen to time and time again because the energetics are very layered. Remember that we're multi-dimensional beings of light. We don't just reside here in the third dimension on Earth. We are in the stars. We're in all these other realms as well. And so when we heal, when we shift, we are inclusive of all that information and we get to play so much bigger. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for commenting and liking and just being here with me and trusting. When you heal, I heal, we all heal. So until next time.